My next Patreon question is from Joshua, who is curious about why some recastings are considered less sacrilegious than others. Steve Martin's Pink Panther films have been widely panned by many people, just because it's a different actor playing Clouseau. The James Bond franchise, meanwhile, has changed the lead actor several times more, and somehow that never gets met with controversy in the same way as the Pink Panther. Peter Sellers was Peter Sellers. Steve Martin is Steve Martin. Neither of them owned the character of Clouseau, they just had different takes on it. In other words, they brought their own uniqueness to the character. This exact same principle applies to the James Bond franchise and every last actor who has played that character. If James Bond can be played by more than one actor, then what's wrong with the same treatment being given to Inspector Clouseau? That's a great question. Inspector Clouseau is of course one of Peter Sellers' most renowned and best remembered roles, and in fact he was largely responsible for many of the character's quirks, appearance, and even the French accent. Most people forget the first Pink Panther movie isn't even about Clouseau. It's instead the jewel thief who is the central character. However, Sellers left such an impression and immediately became synonymous with the series and Clouseau. To be entirely honest, I don't consider Clouseau to be one of his best or funniest roles. I've long felt Clouseau to be just a French accent and little more. So I agree with Joshua that it's hardly an insult to have other actors depict the character. In addition to Steve Martin, Alan Arkin also played Clouseau once, and Roberto Benigni portrayed Clouseau's son. I can only speak to the Steve Martin movies, but I thought he was okay. He did a good job with the slapstick and brought his own spin to the accent. Neither film was all that good in my opinion, but I don't blame Martin stepping into Sellers' shoes for that. In regards to James Bond, Sean Connery did leave a mark on the early films, enough that he was brought back for Diamonds Are Forever after George Lazenby left after one movie. However, Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan stayed long enough as 007 that there are many who associate them with Bond, and Daniel Craig has also become the quintessential Bond to many. There's already speculation on who might take over the role after Craig is done, as the revolving door of Bond actors is now seen as tradition. Ditto Doctor Who, although that provided an in-universe example for why there are frequently new Doctors popping up in that iconic police box. With Inspector Clouseau, Peter Sellers played him for so long and in plenty of films, and Arkin and Benigni's appearances were seen by so few people, most viewers think of Sellers as the only Clouseau. Thus, Steve Martin was seen as just the replacement, which is not entirely fair to Martin, I agree. That creates an interesting question about character ownership. Sellers was instrumental in Clouseau's creation, so I can understand why many see the clumsy inspector as his and only his. But then you have cases like Gene Wilder's portrayal of Willy Wonka. Wilder famously said he did not like Johnny Depp playing the eccentric chocolate maker, and found it insulting that someone else would attempt their own version. As much as I have enormous respect for Gene Wilder, I think he needed to remember Willy Wonka was not his character. He played him in a movie and did a good job, but it was Roald Dahl who created Wonka, so Wilder does not have ownership of him. Contrast his attitude with Melissa Joan Hart's, who famously played Sabrina the Teenage Witch on the popular sitcom. Whenever she is asked about the new Chilling Adventures of Sabrina series on Netflix, she has given her support to the cast and frequently mentions that it's a new incarnation and that Sabrina existed before she was even born. Thus, anyone is free to play the iconic Archie comic sorceress. I think characters can be shaped and portrayed in however a new actor playing the role sees fit. It's like how there are many stage productions with different actors playing the same role. Zero Mostel was famously beloved and acclaimed in the original Broadway production of Fiddler on the Roof, but other actors like Alfred Molina and Harvey Fierstein have also portrayed Tevye with big success. So if MGM decides to give the Pink Panther series another go at some point, I think we should give whoever they hire to be Inspector Clouseau a chance. Thank you for your question, Joshua.